Hello everyone, my name is Ben and welcome back to PASSTHEauxCORD, a channel where, for the first time, I was listening to Muse and got a little bit bored. We'll see how this goes over. Unnatural Selection is this one. I have like an organ going on here. Okay, I'm picking it up a little here. Really reaching into that classic rock cheesy shit. Liking these riffs, man. Liking these riffs. What's happening here? Oh? Okay. Okay. Loving the way this is kind of wrapping around here. Boy, you know, I like that a lot while I was listening to it. I checked my phone for just a second ago, like now, you know, I was just like responding to a message quick. Took me maybe a minute at the very most, and now that I am coming back to talk about the song, I don't think I remember anything that happened. There was a lot on there that had a lot of sections, like way too many, because it almost made it so that, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like I don't walk away with that song with very much, like, in mind that actually happened. It just feels like, kind of this big blur of spacey rock sounds. There were a lot of good moments, I know that much, and, you know, I'm kind of thinking of some, like, off the top of my head right now, where it was just like, you know, sometimes you'd hit this, like, really nice vocal melody, or sometimes there'd just be some really good, like, instrumental passages going on. I know that there was a lot of really good, like, guitar stuff going on in that track, but, like, wow, I have so little to talk about otherwise. This is almost going exactly the opposite way of the rest of this album, because while the rest of this was almost like, oh, okay, Muse is trying new things, sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not, this song was like painfully Muse, you know. It seemed exactly like the other shit that they have done, but at the same time seemed like a watered down version of it, you know. I mean, this is, again, almost 7 minutes in length, and it feels like if you had a proportionate amount of water and Kool-Aid, and the Kool-Aid in this situation is the Muse formula, alright? Now, you have the same packet of Kool-Aid, okay, and you've got this smaller batch of water, which is about 3 to 4 minutes. Now you've got this bigger batch of water that's about 7 minutes, okay? You dump the same packet of Muse formula into each one. This one is going to taste a fuck ton better than this one, because this one is more dense in what you mixed into the picture of water. That track might grow on me on repeated listens, because again, I do remember very specifically there being good moments on it. I just don't remember the structure of the song. Lyrically speaking, it is the same shit as the rest of the album. The progressive against the system kind of vibe. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about it other than that. But at the end of the day, though, I can't really call it bad either, just because I do know that, like, during the moment while I was listening to the song, I did just kind of space out and let the environment take me in. It was pretty good for that, for sure. I mean, I have to give it credit where it's due, for sure. You know, it would be wrong not to. I just really wish I walked away from that with more to say about it. So, not to end it on a stale note, Unnatural Selection is probably the most forgettable Muse song that I've ever heard, just because it went on and on and on, and I don't remember it. I don't fucking remember it. We're gonna see what else they have to offer here because it has been a really mixed bag, but I am still really interested to see what else we have on here. MK Ultra is the next one. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. A lot of passion in the vocal performance here. Do you like that? Alright. Okay. That's pretty cool. Wait, we're getting more stripped back here? Like that. I feel like this is gonna be very explosive. Not quite as explosive as I was hoping, I have to say, but still pretty cool. Loving the riffs on here, it's very ascending. Nice. Really cool track on that one. I actually did really dig that one. Definitely a lot more rock-based sound on this one. Kind of hit a little bit harder than most of the stuff on here, and I do appreciate that. A little bit more riffage going on, a little less leaning on the electronic side of things, which is, I mean, you know, it seems like the kind of cliche thing to prefer, but at the end of the day, I really need something to kind of wake me up with this album, I guess, and at the end of the day, that's what this one really did a good job at doing. Some really solid riffs on there, some, you know, impassioned vocal performance on there, I suppose. Had a pretty good chorus, but again, my big critique with this one is that it was very painfully Muse at this point, you know, much like the last one, it just almost sounds like Muse noise. I'm realizing at this point in the album that with all of the other ones that I've reacted to this point, there was a particular song that really just like stood out to me and went, wow, I want to come back to this one over and over and over again. Like, look at Plug-in Baby from Origin of Symmetry, or even on Black Holes in Revelation, you had Starlight, you had Take a Bow on there, Assassin, Absolution, you had Hysteria, you had Stockholm Syndrome. Tracks like that. I haven't had a song on here where I was like, yes, this is the one I am going to be coming back to on this album. And we're most of the way through it, so it's kind of like, well, not really sure we're going to get that moment. Although this is probably the closest we've gotten to that moment, other than maybe Uprising. Lyrically speaking, again, kind of the same stuff. It's talking about the deceptive government, things like that, and I really wish that it actually more focused on the title of MK Ultra. I think that specifically writing a song about MK Ultra would have been really cool. Unfortunately, though, this just seems to be about deceptive practices of the government in general rather than specifically MK Ultra. So, you know, I feel like there's not really a lot more to dive into there. It's just kind of there. Again, I Belong to You.
Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix.
This is more upbeat sounding. Alright. More of like a synth pop sound to this one, I want to say. Interesting. If that's the lyric they chose there. This is very peaceful. Alright. Wow. Going back into this funky groove. Alright. Alright. Good shit, man. Good shit. Okay, yeah. Pretty much just a really sweet sounding, very dynamic, also sounding love song. Again, it kind of seems like we're on one side or the other, either writing love songs on this track or kind of just like rising against the government type anthems. Again, the kind of like whole dystopian thing going on. Because, you know, there's a lot on here about either kind of the reality of the current government situations or like a fictional totalitarian government, or maybe a little bit of mixing of both from time to time. But there's also a lot of these like really dramatic love songs on here, and this is definitely another one to add to the list of those. And probably one of the best ones yet. I really like the different sections that we had on here. You had this really peaceful piano section where, for the most part, he was singing in French, which is, of course, known to be a romantic language. Very stereotypically, I suppose, but still. I also really kind of dig the synth pop kind of groove we had going on in the first part of this. It was just a very like pop rock leaning track for sure. A lot of this album was, but yeah, definitely one of the best ones on here so far. Next, we kind of have like a trilogy going on. Exogenesis Symphony Part 1, 2, and 3 is what we have on here. Not really sure what we're getting into, but looks interesting nonetheless. Part 1 is Overture. Very orchestral mix of things going on. Loving the like subtle falsetto thing going on. Very cool. Nice. Loving the guitar additions here. Oh, and then it leads directly. I didn't realize the fact that we had changed songs here. Yeah, I'm not going to pause it now, though. We're just going to keep going. Clearly meant to be listened to together. This is so hypnotic. I'm just very immersed in the mood right now. Really liking the vocals on this part. Really love how much piano is being used on this symphony so far. That one kind of seems like it doesn't transition all that much, which is a little bit of a shame, but oh well. This is really pretty so far. I like where this is going. Hell yeah, dude. Some soulful shit, damn. Beautiful ending. So now I know for absolutely certain that they can do it. They can pull it off, okay? Because the 7-minute song on here is what I was complaining about. But this was essentially a 12-minute song, a little bit over even, because I did listen to these all back to back, and that was absolutely amazing. That was great. That was awesome. I really, really loved the way that that all came together. That is easily the best thing to come out of this album. Because while songs like Uprising, I guess MK Ultra, I guess United States of Eurasia were okay, and definitely ones that I guess I would come back to maybe on like occasion, I guess you could say, but not really really ones that particularly stood out to me on the general plane of like the Muse discography for sure, but this was something actually unique and something that I specifically will remember out of the Muse catalog, whereas the rest of it just kind of falls to the back and either sounds like something where they tried to do something a little bit more experimental and it just kind of didn't really work quite as well as it should have, or just basically, again, just Muse noise, okay? Just sounding exactly like most of their stuff that they had already made. We did kind of vary between those two things, but I think that this little trilogy at the end here, this symphony, that actually, like, gave me something to walk away from this album with, like, very, very memorable. And I'm sure my reaction to that song is going to be pretty dull, pretty boring, because I wasn't doing a lot during that. You know, I didn't have a lot to say. I didn't have a lot, you know, going on. There weren't too many, like, dramatic, like, huge moments on that. It was just such a really pretty song, you know, very, very heavy on the piano usage, very atmospheric. It did a lot to take me into the mood of it. I appreciate that a lot. That was really cool, something totally different from what they usually did. But out of the stuff that they did on here that was totally different, this is easily the best take on it. I think that track was memorable. I think that it really stood out from the crowd as far as that went, and I feel like I've made that pretty clear as to why already, you know, and I feel like why that this is pretty solid is very obvious. You know, it was very symphonic, I guess, as the title would imply, and they just did a really good job creating this like instrumental bliss that I suppose you would be looking for in a lot of their music. This album as a whole, though, that's a complicated one, because like I said, you know, there were some ups and downs. It's a mixed bag in general. If this was a band that I hadn't heard anything from already, I feel like I would be like, okay, well, you know, that was a pretty good album. But considering the stuff that I've heard from Muse already, that was just kind of weak, because I feel like you could have done a lot more, a ton more even, with the songs that were on here, trying to do something a little bit different. I feel like they still could have had that classic Muse punchiness they were all going in looking for, and I also feel like this didn't necessarily do enough by any means on certain tracks. I feel like I've already, you know, again, made it pretty clear what I'm feeling towards most of these, and most of these songs I won't come back to, but that's not to say that they're, you know, not good songs. I would say that most of the songs on here are completely acceptable, but on the other hand, I will say that this has pretty much every one of like the top 5 most forgettable songs that I've heard in their catalog so far, unfortunately. So in some ways, I would like to kind of agree with the general notion that this isn't one of their best albums, but on the same note, I would kind of like to say that it's better than some of the people who give it a lot of shit think it is, you know. I really do feel like it's somewhere in the middle, and I suppose it doesn't really get any more somewhere in the middle, but still generally positive than a solid 6- out of 10. You know, I feel like this just escapes the 5 realm. We'll put it like that. So I suppose that's all I got for you on this one. Drop a like on the video if you did like what you saw today. Subscribe to the channel for more music related content coming your way. Hit the bell for notifications on that same thing as well. But that is just about going to wrap it up for this one, and I will see you in the next video.